he's the head of social media at Ford, and he runs a really cool blog. If you haven't subscribed to it yet, it's one of my favorites. It's the Social Media Marketing Blog. And it's all about how, marketing and PR and advertising is going to the web for marketers, agencies, the enterprise, and even individuals. It's a really cool place to get as much information as you want on both social media and marketing and how brands are using the web to get the most out of their marketing initiatives. So, Scott, I'm a huge fan. I'm really excited to have you on the line today, and just looking forward to today's presentation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So, looks like, there we go.
Let me know when we're good to go.
We are good to go.
Okay. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Really pleased to be able to share a little bit of Ford's success with you. I know the event was pretty much marketed as some kind of how-tos around social media strategy, and I will get to that. But what I'd like to do is kind of take you along a journey here, tell you a bit of a story as to how Ford came to be in this place and what we're doing to promote our brand online with social media, and then to give you a few examples and then leave you with some takeaways that hopefully you can apply to your own situation. But I apologize up front if it's very Ford-centric and Ford-heavy, but that is obviously the perspective that I am coming from. Okay? So, right now, it's clear that businesses are in a challenging space. People this year trust corporations less than they ever have before. In the U.S., 77% of people trust businesses less than they did last year. And last year was no banner year, let me assure you. And this is according to the Edelman Trust Barometer, a survey that's been done for each of the last 10 years. So the question is, well, who do people trust? Who do they count on to get their information from? And really there's two top sources. One is third-party experts. So in some cases, major trusted journalistic brands like the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, etc., or even Consumer Reports and other independent parties like that. And they also trust people like themselves. You think about when you ask someone for advice about a restaurant to go to or a movie to go see, you ask people that are part of your network, your friends, your family, people that you identify with in some way. Okay, so that's kind of step one as to why we are where we are. The second step, or the second challenge that we're up against, is the fact that we live in a 140-character society at this point, whether we like it or not. And people are bombarded by messages every single day, to the hundreds, if not thousands. There are so many ways that we see brands trying to get our attention. And the old tried and true methods aren't necessarily quite as successful as they once were. And we have a variety of channels to choose from now. So we need to start engaging with people in a way that makes sense to them, in a way that they want to engage with us. So between the trust and the attention, we're kind of up against a two-pronged challenge here. Now, I had an opportunity, or was approached by Ford Motor Company just almost 2 years ago. And until that time, Ford was kind of until very recently, really, Ford was in a very difficult place. In 2006, with our back against the wall, we hired a CEO from outside of the auto industry, a guy by the name of Alan Mulally, who came on board after spending 30-plus years with Boeing in the aeronautics industry. And our then CEO, Bill Ford Jr., the great-grandson of Henry Ford, decided to step aside and to bring in an outsider to help us make sense of things. And as part of that, they realigned the marketing and communications organization, and the communications chief determined that Ford needed to put itself in the forefront of digital communications and social media. And when the opportunity came to me, I didn't really have any kind of warm and fuzzy feeling about the logo you're looking at right now. I mean, I certainly knew it. We all know the logo. It's known more than 95% worldwide. But what did it mean? You know, I mean, you look at the Nike swoosh or you look at the Apple, and there's an emotion that goes along with that, a certain aspiration, and it seemed to be lacking at Ford. And I thought back to the beginnings of the company and how for many, many years the company was associated with a single person, a single man, a man whose name is still on that blue oval today. And how people took the spirit of innovation and curiosity and just American ingenuity of Henry Ford and applied it to the company. And I thought, well, that's an opportunity for us to kind of get back to our roots in so many ways. And this isn't just with Ford Motor Company, but in general. In the rise of mass marketing, we have seen the impersonalization of companies. You know, you think back to childhood when you could walk into a bank or a post office in your hometown with your mom or dad, and the teller or the vice president or whoever it was behind the counter would know your parents by name and maybe even you by name. And now we're dealing with ATMs and automated systems because we're all in a rush and dealing with very short attention spans. So we've lost the ability along the way. Even though we're reaching more people in terms of mass marketing, we've lost the ability to be human with them. And I thought, well, what a great opportunity for Ford Motor Company to kind of return to its roots and to start familiarizing people with the faces of Ford. Because even though I was reluctant to uproot my family after 20 years in Boston and come out to Michigan, it wasn't until I started digging and scratching the surface a little bit and understanding that Ford had a really strong leadership team, a really strong product cadence, and most importantly, every person I met when I interviewed here was intelligent and talented, and most of all, passionate about this company. And that isn't something that you can manufacture or bottle. Passion has to be grown from within. And the fact that that existed here was extremely exciting to me and led me to think that, wow, if we could only take some of that passion and share it with the outside world in a way that's believable and that makes people pay attention, then perhaps we'll start to turn the ship in the right direction. So I talked about our leadership. Alan Mulally here has been single-mindedly focused on, making sure we are focused on what matters most to Ford Motor Company, divesting brands that were a distraction and focusing on really the blue oval. Polishing that blue oval is really one of our top jobs. And he put together a plan called the One Ford, or kind of a mission, the One Ford mission, that we're all working on one team. Globally, we need to be aligned around, one team, one plan, and one goal. And that through that simple statement, that is something that grounds us all. And we have this card on our ID badges. It's all over the walls here. You see it in people's email signatures. It's drummed into us. And it's a simple statement and a simple concept, so it's easy to remember and easy to understand. And having the leadership in place, and a broad leadership base, not just the CEO, but a very strong executive board to support this really means a lot. And and I'll talk about this in a little bit, but when you have an executive team that is that supportive of particular marketing or communications or social media efforts, those efforts go a lot farther. As I said, I was excited about the product cadence that we've got. I mean, the new Taurus, people seem to be astounded by. They look at, that red car and they go, whoa, that's a Taurus? No way. The Flex, one of the best, the Fusion there in the middle, one of the best vehicles in terms of miles per gallon. We're connecting with people with some of these vehicles on an emotional level and giving them an opportunity to start telling their stories, okay? And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But it comes through that emotional connection. And it also translates to what we're doing in technology in a way that makes people's lives easier at the various things that they are looking to do, whether it's in-car connectivity or fuel efficiency. Every single one of our advances, our innovations, is designed for the masses. It's not just for luxury brands. And that goes way back to Henry Ford's time. The spirit of innovation for all is something that we will continue to stand for, and something that through the power of social media we can help people understand. So our executive chairman, Bill Ford Jr., again, that great-grandson of Henry Ford, if you ask him what Ford Motor Company is, you would expect him to say, oh, we're a car company, or we work in the transportation business. But that's not what he says. He says something far broader and far more visionary, that we're a green, global, high-tech company that's improving people's lives. And that's pretty profound when you stop to think about it. When you've got a leader like that and a statement like that, that allows us to think of ourselves as much more than we traditionally have been thought of or that we have been pigeonholed as, it gives us the opportunity and the spirit and the passion to work to greater ends. So that kind of sets the stage for Ford, where we are and what's important to us and where we've been. But how do we actually go about putting some of this stuff into practice? Well, first of all, I don't know if you're familiar with Woody Allen's famous phrase, 90% of life is just showing up. Well, we subscribe to the Woody Allen theory, or the Woody Allen philosophy of social media. And that is that 90% of social media is just showing up. It's about being where people expect you to be. And these days, if a company doesn't have its own Facebook page or its own Twitter account, it's almost like, in 2000, a company not having its own website. It's almost expected of you. But that's only part of it. That's 90% is just showing up. And we also subscribe to what I like to call the Yogi Berra corollary. If you're not familiar with Yogi Berra, that great American philosopher, he was a catcher for the New York Yankees for a number of years and was known for saying some pretty wacky things that didn't necessarily add up, which is why we subscribe to the Yogi Berra corollary of social media, which is it's the other half that's hard. Showing up or having an account on particular platforms is one thing, but what do you do once you get there? How are you actually improving people's lives? How are you making a difference? The original, or one of the original titles I had for this presentation was Putting the Car in Karma. And that's really what so much of social media is about. It's not about the getting, it's about the giving. It's about how are you meeting someone's needs, how are you answering their questions, how are you providing value to them on a regular basis. And eventually, over time, the relationship will be built, the trust will be established, and the business will come your way. It's not about sell, sell, sell. Okay? So once you're there, people start to expect you to do stuff. They write a post or they mention the company's name. They expect to be heard. And when you're doing it well and doing it in a way that meets their expectations or perhaps even exceeds their expectations, they start to notice. And the fact that they'll call out our company for being present and others for not is indicative of the early success that we've been able to have. And once you're out there, people want to get in touch with you. Traditionally, they've been able to call your 800 number. They've been able to find your corporate email addresses or, submit a request over a form on your website. And that's great. Those will continue. But now people want to reach you in other ways. They want to reach you through sites like Twitter and Facebook and whatever other platforms you've chosen. We need to be where the people are. fish where the fish are, as the old cliche goes. And really, the new tools are not that different in their nature. A lot of companies for a long time have been resistant to change. There's actually a story I like to tell that my friend Shel Holtz shared with me one time about a PDF he received from a business journal. And it was a story about a company who was very skeptical of this new technology. And they heard a lot about it. They knew employees were excited about it. They knew their customers were starting to use it. But they were still skeptical. And they decided to try it out. They wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt, but they wanted to test it appropriately. So they set up a kind of a central station with this technology in the middle of everyone's desks so they could monitor it. They could see what was going on because they didn't want employees wasting time. They didn't want them giving away company secrets. They didn't want insider trading happening on Wall Street. That PDF was from a business journal from the 1930s, and the technology was the telephone. So let's not kid ourselves that it's the technology that's holding us back. It really isn't. The technology will always change. Twitter and Facebook may be all the rage right now. They'll go the way of the dodo at some point, or we'll come to maturity, and there'll be other sites that come about that we need to be aware of. But it's about behavior and culture change first and foremost, or not necessarily even culture change, but helping people to understand that the culture is already there through other forms of communication, and this is just another one of those. So once you're actually active on there, there's really two facets, kind of two sides of a coin of social media that people always like to talk about. The first is transparency. People appreciate being brought into the inside of a situation and understanding what's going on and how a company works. Ultimately, they'll want something answered, but bringing them into the process and making them feel like they have a vested interest in it is an important aspect. And that way, they also get to see the real people behind the situation and understand how a company thinks about itself and does business. The other side of that coin is authenticity. People like to be treated like real human beings. They don't like being fed a line of BS. They don't like being spoken to like a press release or through legal statements. Now, I once gave a presentation to our customer service division, and I said, how many here have heard the phrase, "We regret any inconvenience you may have experienced"? And a bunch of hands went up. And I said, well, how many of you have actually used that over the phone or in any kind of regular conversation? And they all kind of laughed and nobody raised their hand. And I said, well, that's right, because what do you say when you're talking to another real human being? You say, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Let me see if I can fix it for you. You talk like a human being. And there's no reason what we do online has to be kind of fraught with legal ramifications and press release statements. We can talk just like real people, just like we would want to be spoken to. So when you put all this together, and when we started, talking with people around the company and around the globe, we needed to put together a strategy that would align with our overall communications goals and support our business, being part of that One Forward kind of mission. And we had to put together a strategy that made sense to any division that wished to use social media, with any constituents that they wanted to talk to, whether they were customers or dealers or suppliers or what have you. And we had to do it in a way that made sense from a global perspective, because we are a global company. And for that reason, we put together, again, like the One Ford statement, a very simple mission, very simple strategy that everyone could pretty easily remember. And this is Ford Motor Company's social media strategy, to humanize the company by connecting our constituents with our employees and with each other when possible, providing value in the process. And it's really that last part that's the most important, is the providing value. Because anybody could get out there on Twitter or whatever and be chit-chatty all day. But what are you doing to actually meet people's needs, to persuade, to build awareness, to answer questions, to direct them to someplace that can help them, and most importantly, to listen. Because without listening, we don't know what needs we're trying to meet. Okay? That kind of sets the stage for where we're going with all of our social media efforts at Ford Motor Company. So, let's get into some of the specifics as to how we actually brought it to life. First thing, this was started before I got here. We put together a social media press release site, ford.digitalsnippets.com. These are shorter versions of our traditional press releases, not all of our press releases, but select ones, broken down into product and corporate categories, built on a WordPress platform with easy-to-subscribe feeds there through RSS. We've backed all of them up with YouTube videos so people can, share them and embed them and whatever they want to do with them, and with Flickr photos. And all of our Flickr photos are Creative Commons licensed so that people can use them and they're free to share them as long as they aren't making any money doing anything with them. So they are protected from reproduction that way, but essentially what we've done is we've set our content free. And you know the old phrase, if you love something, set it free. If it loves you, it will come back. Or as our lawyers like to say, if it doesn't, hunt it down and kill it. Apologies to any lawyers that are on the line. I can't tell if any of you are laughing because this is a one-way webinar at this point. The point is, once we set our content free, we saw some amazing results. With only 150 videos, we've seen over 1.2 million views. We've had Flickr photos that have been viewed tens of thousands of times. We've been picked up by ABC News, the New York Times, and hundreds of bloggers off of this site. That's in addition to our traditional press releases and media materials. And I mentioned fishing where the fish are. So we've got 7 major social networks where we have a presence. Twitter, Facebook, everybody knows those. YouTube, Flickr, same thing. We share documents on Scribd, so people can download and embed fact sheets and other particular areas of interest to them. We use Delicious for social bookmarking sharing, and we use Upcoming for events. So we've got kind of a whole host of sites there that we're active on and we try to monitor and stay in conversation with people on. And with Twitter in particular, and this is by no means comprehensive, but with Twitter we've got a number of different accounts because we realize, in addition to the master account, the corporate Ford account, people like to have specific information about the products or areas of interest that are important to them. And we created these as a result. Ford Latino does a lot of Spanish language tweeting here in the States. And the people who follow Ford Mustang are probably not interested in the sustainability messages that are coming from Ford Drive Green. Okay, so we try to serve each one of these populations effectively. And we've even gotten our CEO active on Twitter to the point where in April he took about an hour of questions on Twitter, and in addition to the great responses that he had, because he's very good in that kind of situation, we took a video so people could understand who the person was behind the tweets. And let's just show you the video now. So if your speakers aren't on yet, I suggest turning them up. And to show you the personality of our CEO as he kind of embarked on this journey with us and was very supportive. The power behind a very simple thing like that of making a personality apparent. And we extended that beyond just our CEO over this summer as we did an event called, or a series of events called the Summer of Taurus. We brought our new car out to 100 different cities. In 10 of those we supported it with social media activities, and we had our executive team members doing live tweeting from the event, as well as taking part in Blog Talk Radio interviews. So here you see Sue Siskey, who is our Group Vice President of Sustainability and Safety Engineering, and in the bottom right, none other than David Leach, who is our General Counsel. That's right, we got the top lawyer at Ford Motor Company, not only interested in, but involved in social media. So When you can get the lawyers involved, it's a good thing. So in addition to being present out there on all those platforms, we bring it back home to a single hub, our social media hub, which we call the Ford Story. You can find it at thefordstory.com. This started out as a site where we try to differentiate ourselves from the other automakers when we were in Congress, but very quickly it's become a place where we've gotten to share some unique angles about what we're doing, and more importantly, we feature not only what we're saying about ourselves, but what third parties are saying about us, bloggers and other journalists. We will aggregate their content and link out to it here. But we've also given people a chance to tell their story. That's the thing that says submit your stories in the middle right there. There's a chance for people to talk about how Ford has touched or inspired their life in some way. So thinking back to that first slide about the challenge being that people don't trust what we say, they trust third parties and they trust people like them, we're making that come to life here on the Ford Story. Okay, and there's the form that people can use to actually submit their photos, videos, and text-based stories about Ford Motor Company. I'm going to try and get through the rest of the slides rather quickly. This is when we launched the Mustang in late November of last year at the LA Auto Show, we had partnered with Filmmaker.com to have aspiring filmmakers create their own short films about the Mustang and what it meant to them. We got over 400 submissions. We brought the top 20 finalists to LA, and we selected the winner out there. I'd like to show you that one right now.
Hey, Scott, actually, you might want to take it off mute. I think some of the people are having problems hearing it through the computer.
Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's great.
That's the milk sex by Brenda.
We never smoke, love.
Okay, that's better.
Come on, Dad.
I'm not sons of up.
You're still my son.
So, Ford Insect.
Yes, sir? We'd like to take her out for a test drive, please. Good choice, sir. The Focus is an excellent vehicle. No, not for Focus. That one. Sir, that's a 1974 Mustang. Sure is. Saddle up, son. Buckle up, boys. Drive's good. Again. being sold. Happy Father's Day, Ben.
And when you consider that's something that was created by an enthusiast, not by anyone at our advertising agency or anyone here at corporate, it's pretty profound. And when we give customers the ability or the tools or the encouragement to do stuff like this, it's amazing to see what they're capable of and what types of authentic ways they can help us tell our story. Because it's not just about our story, it's about collectively our story, the big hour. So I think we're going to be seeing more things like this in the future. We put together a customizer on the 2010 Mustang site. We did a homepage takeover with Yahoo. And more importantly, we had, as part of this customizer where people could do their own designs and colors and everything for the Mustang, we allowed people to share it out on whatever platforms they wanted. We have a share this button, we have Facebook Connect, we've used a lot of tools that go where people expect us to be. And it's a matter of giving them the ability to actually take that content again and put it on their platforms as they see fit. We put an app together with a Facebook app developer called You Speak Green. It was very lightly branded as the 2010 Fusion and Fusion Hybrid, but it was meant to show people how we are all contributing to the environment in some way, how we're actually making the world a better place. People could leave their tips, the vines would grow with all sorts of suggestions, and you would see everybody's suggestions come up. You could rate them 1 to 5 leaves, you could post it, you could write your own, etc. And the point is that collectively we're having more of an impact than any single one of us is alone. And again, as you think about how we think about fuel efficiency and fuel efficiency for all, this ties directly into that message. So it's being consistent with what we're doing from a business and a product perspective. And then we've given a number of people an opportunity to drive our vehicles and do what they do. This guy, Mark Malkoff, is a comedian. He is trying to get the keys to as many cities as possible in a 1-month period. We've given him a Fusion Hybrid. We gave a creative ad agency called Plaid a flex for 2 weeks as they traveled the country in search of people who are doing things differently, doing things creatively, and innovating, whether they're brands, individuals, or agencies. And they used that as their official vehicle. A couple came to us and decided that instead of having a traditional wedding, they wanted to visit everyone they would have invited to a large ceremony, visit them across the country, and to do so in an American vehicle. We gave them, again, Ford Fusion, which they promptly named Roxy. These are not car people, but they went gaga over the car. And they spent about a month and a half or so crossing the country. And they discussed as part of their journey what they were going to do when they returned. Was she going to take his name? Was he going to take hers? Was she going to hyphenate? Were they going to remain as they always were? And this is the really bizarre part, but they decided to change their last name to Ford. It's a little weird, I know, but you can't really script it any better than that. They're in the process of getting their name changed as we speak. So that's a sponsorship and a partnership. I guess it's going a long way. And again, all of this content was aggregated and streamed through the FordStory.com so people could see what these interesting individuals were doing. In April of this year, we started the Fiesta movement where we encouraged people across the web to apply. We loaned out 100 vehicles for 6 months to 100 people who are, as we termed it, socially vibrant, living in various areas of the country and having a social presence and an impact on a number of different social networks. Ultimately, they're required to create a single video for us each month, but in the meantime, they go and they do whatever it is they normally do, and we capture it all on fiestamovement.com. Live updates coming in from Twitter and their blogs and YouTube and Flickr and you name it. This is all uncensored, unedited, 100% them. Because if we decided to try and play cute with it and to only put up the positive stuff or to, just make it look like it was promoting for it, it wouldn't fly. This is real people saying what they really think, and it's been a remarkable success. So I want to talk a little bit about how we've measured the success of this program in particular, because we've been very proud of the results. And people ask often, what's the ROI of social media? And I get what they're trying to get at with that question. It's the wrong question. The right spirit, the wrong question. Asking what the ROI of social media is like asking what the ROI is of putting your pants on in the morning. It's important. It's hard to quantify. Not doing it would have some serious repercussions. Okay? But when we think about social media and the projects that we do, we set out specific goals against each one. We know what it is we want to achieve. We know where we are. We know where we need to be. And then we measure against that to see whether we've been effective. And looking at the statistics for the Fiesta movement for a little bit, of the 700 or so videos that the agents, the 100 Fiesta agents have produced, they've had over 4.8 million views on YouTube. The Flickr photos that they've uploaded have seen over 600,000 views. They've made over 3.2 million impressions on Twitter. And there is an offline component to this as well as an online component. I think any good social media program takes into account how people interact in the real world. Face-to-face is not to be underestimated. So we had, obviously, all of these 100 people, they have vehicles, they're out in the real world showing them off to people and sharing with them how to get to fiestamovement.com to sign up for more information. We've also done kind of guerrilla marketing techniques in various cities where we just drop by and give people a chance to walk around the vehicle, take it for a spin, sign up for more information. And as a result, I think we've had about 35,000 test drives. We've gotten 50,000 people who have raised their hands to say, yes, I'm interested in learning more about this car as you get closer to launching it. And of those 50,000 people, 97% of them currently do not drive a Ford vehicle. That is an astounding conquest rate. Now, that's not to say that this is going to translate into exact sales, but it's a very, very good indication of the direction we're going. And worldwide, since we relaunched the Fiesta just a year ago, this is a global platform vehicle. We've sold over 500,000 of these vehicles. So they're poised as small cars, small fuel-efficient cars to become very significant as part of how we're doing business. And last but not least, we surveyed people under 30 who were not familiar with the Fiesta brand before this program began. And there is currently a 38% level of awareness of this vehicle, which isn't even in the market yet. It doesn't launch until Q2 of next year. I failed to mention this, but the vehicle that we gave the 100 Fiesta agents is the European version of it. The North American version is coming out in Q2 of next year. So we've essentially got 100 vehicles out there that have given us a 38% level of awareness, which is the equivalent of some of our vehicles that have been in market for 2 to 3 years, all by spending zero traditional advertising dollars. Whoops. I don't know how this slide got in there. I must have accidentally left it in from a board presentation. The point is, people are starting to pay attention to what we're doing, and they're doing so unprompted. We were picked up by the end of 2008 as being one of the most social brands out there. by Q1 of '09, we were rated the most social automotive brand. And it was our goal to reach this level within 3 years. And I joined in July of '08, so we did it in 6 months. Okay, so mission more than accomplished. And then you see that, and these are just a couple of examples, but there are a number of surveys and polls and studies that show us consistently in the top 10 overall of companies that get social media. We've had instances of people that have been negative against our industry and against our company. And in this case, we've given them an opportunity to actually come and experience what we're doing firsthand and to talk with our people and to see our vehicles up close. And we have completely, in some cases, completely changed their worldview on Ford Motor Company, 180 degrees. And they tell their networks about it, and then their network starts to talk about it. This is exactly how it's supposed to work. People ask, can you sell cars via Twitter? Well, it's not that we tweet and somebody goes out and buys a car. It's about consistency and providing value over time. You see, it's about building a relationship and building that sense of trust. And again, it's about doing more than just what people expect or doing the cutesy type of stuff. It's about being human and connecting with people on a level that makes sense to them and that resonates with them. So, we'll wrap it up here, and just want to leave you with a few thoughts here. Really, in order to be a good social media advocate or to have a good social media program within your company, you need to understand your industry and your business first. No matter whether you're in marketing or IT or communications, understanding your business and your industry are paramount, okay? And then once you're ready to build a strategy, and do focus on the strategy first, not the tools, because the tools are secondary, and again, they will always change. Build a strategy that is consistent with what you've already got in place for your business and for your marketing and your communication strategies. And then determine where you need to be. Your customers aren't on Twitter, don't get on Twitter. They're not on Facebook, don't get on Facebook. Determine where that is. And then provide some sort of central hub. It can be your corporate website where you integrate some of this stuff, but give people a sense as to, if they're going to a central place, where they can find all this, okay? And then once you're there, provide value to them. And listen, listen, listen. That is the first step, because if you don't know what people are looking for, you might not be able to answer that need. And every day we're learning about how to do things differently, how to do things better, how to improve the process. And we go out and we actually put it into play. And we keep on doing it. So that concludes my remarks here. Happy to take any questions with the few minutes that we have remaining.
Yeah, Scott, that was great. We actually got a ton of different questions. I'm going to do my best to try to consolidate as many of them as we can. And the ones we don't get to, I'll shoot over to you directly after. And if you want to follow up with people, that'd be great. Because some of the questions are really cool. One of them is really around adoption. And someone actually asked, back in the day, Ford used to be, or at least the perception was, Ford was a pretty conservative company. And how did you get management and legal and everybody else to buy into this way of thinking?
Well, it's funny. I didn't have to do any selling. That was one of the biggest surprises when I got here. I walked in the door, and it wasn't like, wow, social media, why do we need that? Or what is it? It was like, wow, you're here. Let's get to work, which is completely refreshing. And I think that is that's indicative of the leadership that was put into place. Our VP of Communications decided to create this position and to hire for it, and to really help Ford stand out as a leader in the industry.
And so I noticed a release that came out yesterday, and someone kind of alluded to this. I think it was yesterday or the day before, I forget, but it was about Ford, and it was a profit announcement, really. And do you attribute this to someone actually asked a pretty funny question? Do you attribute this to better cars or to better social media?
Yeah, I thought that was an amusing observation. The fact that people would throw social media in there and even ask the question about it, again, is indicative that we're moving in the right direction. I'm not going to say that it was because of social media that we've done better in the marketplace. You know, and I don't think you can contribute or that you can attribute our performance in the marketplace over the last quarter to any single thing. It's been cumulative. You know, we've got this transformation plan in process. We have some amazing products coming out that are better than they've ever been before. We've got quality that's now ranked the same as Toyota and reliability that is above some of the Japanese automakers with some of our models. I mean, all of this stuff is coming together, and social media is there to help amplify it and to, in some ways, put a sheen of coolness on the company. So I think collectively, it's everything that we're doing as a One Ford team is moving us in the right direction.
So do you work with dealerships at all, or is this more on the corporate level?
We're in the midst of doing some pilot programs with dealerships because we recognize that our 3,700 dealerships are the ones that are the front and center in terms of customer relationships. They're the ones that are closest to a lot of this stuff, and they absolutely are curious and interested in what's going on. So we're doing a pilot program where we're training some of them and seeing what their reaction is. We're taking the lessons learned back from that. And then we're going to turn it over to our field managers or our zone managers and train them. And then they're going to go and train various dealers as they continue to raise their hands.
Very cool. So there was, we only have probably a couple more questions. And just one that I think is important to some of the people on the call was, how can a small and mid-sized business get started in some of the stuff you were talking about? Some of the programs sounded really big. And how would you recommend that smaller companies get started?
Well, I mean, you can start with free monitoring tools like Google Alerts and Twitter search and things like that. That can help you understand what people are talking about, where your brand is mentioned, where your competitors are mentioned, and to really understand what's going on out there. It doesn't really take a lot to start listening. And from that, you know, again, you need to inform your strategy first. I'm not going to say that you need to go out and create a Facebook page or you need to go have a blog. You know, those things are tactics. And you need to figure out how it fits into your overall efforts. And what do you want to get out of being active in social media? Do you want to drive awareness? Do you want to change perception? Do you want to try and support and bolster your lead generation program? There could be a variety of things. So you could use it for customer service. Now, you need to ask yourself what you're trying to achieve by being active in social media and then start planning against that.
And so, just getting to, I know this is more on the tactical side, but just some of the things that came up are brilliant. I mean, even, you know, how did you find out about opportunities like, you know, the couple that was going to drive Ford across country, and how would a guy like me convince a couple to change their last name to Awareness, let's say?
It's funny. They approached us, okay, and I get a lot of emails, a lot of direct messages of people that want to be considered for this kind of thing. And we're actually updating a site that we have, or that we've had for a number of years, called FordProposals.com. And we're putting a social media component into it. So if a blogger wants to, you know, come up with an idea, they can submit it to us and give us some statistics about who they are, where they are, you know, how many followers they have, et cetera. And the good stuff will come, will get filtered through to us, and we'll make the decision based on that.
That's great. That's really cool. And my last question, and I know this is a tough one for someone from Boston, but New York or the Phillies? Who's going to win?
I would love to see the Phillies win.
I get this. I can't stand them now, but I get this weird thing. I'm rooting for Patriots tonight, so we'll see. Well, Scott, I really appreciate your time. It was awesome. The Twitter feedback is great. If you haven't had a chance, you can check it out after. But it's really cool, and just really appreciate you having me on the line, and hope to have you back again sometime soon.
Hi, you bet. And for anybody listening that wants to get this presentation, I've actually got it on SlideShare. It's under a different title, but you'll note the front slide with the Ford Story logo on it. You can just go to slideshare.net/ScottMonty. And you'll be able to find it. And the videos, the links will be embedded to the videos there if you want to watch them on your own at some point later. So it's slideshare.net/ScottMonty.
Awesome. Thanks again, Scott. I really appreciate it.
All right, you bet.
Thanks, Paul. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.